An animated reality show? Well, that's an oxymoron if I ever heard one. But that's what we have here with Total Drama. This series, an import from Canada by Cartoon Network, was the first animated reality show aimed at kids. Yeah, I know, it's not the first animated reality show, period, but it is the only one I'm truly familiar with. The series patterns itself after the Survivor franchise. When I first saw advertisements for this show on Cartoon Network, I thought it was just going to be a big rip-off of that. As I've learned through viewing it, however, there's a big difference between ripping something off and parodying it or satirizing it, and TDI does more of the latter than the former. It surprised me quite a bit, and I ended up liking the show. The elements of Survivor utilized by Total Drama, despite forming the overall plot behind the show, are often built up to insane levels to provide a satirical look at the nature of reality TV in general. The excessive amount of suspense built up during the elimination ceremony and the insanely unorthodox cuisines feasted upon by the competitors are some example of this. Being animated allows Total Drama to get away with a lot more than a live-action reality show ever could. The minuscule care for the safety of the competitors, the personified nature of the animals encountered, and the cartoon logic applied in many episodes are a few of the ways in which Total Drama Island defines its unique identity. Though the facets of Survivor are the main ones Total Drama employs for its premise, elements of other reality shows such as Fear Factor and Iron Chef can also be glanced in certain episodes. So the show feels more like a lampoon of competition-based reality shows in general. Looking into the behind-the-scenes details, I can tell a lot went into making this show. Evidently, the team behind Total Drama pulled young teens on what they liked and didn't like in reality television. Among the things they liked were the intense physical challenges, and the more disliked things involved stuff like fake romantic subplots. It's clear a lot of effort was put forth in giving kids the best faux reality show they could possibly get, and I must say, I'm impressed with the work the team did on the show. It really gives us good setups and some good characters, too. The stars of this animated reality series are not the adults we'd find in a regular reality show, but teenagers who come from a different social group akin to the variety of individuals you'd see in a typical high school. So there are jocks, awkward nerds, bubbly, giggly girls, and more as part of this cavalcade of colorful individuals. You'd think, based on the way I've just described these characters, that they would each be a different stereotypical token of their respective social groups. But viewing the show reveals that isn't truly the case. For example, Lashawna may at first appear to embody the sassy black girl stereotype based on her introduction, but watching her develop throughout the series, we see her become a caring, almost mother hen type person, which makes her more of a well-rounded individual. The same realization comes from watching the development of other characters, such as the dumb blonde Lindsay or the deadpan goth girl Gwen, for instance. We don't know their whole characters upon first meeting them, but as the series progresses, we begin to understand their identities and characters more completely. With the help of the confessional cam that some characters use in each episode, a little bit of their backstories come to light. Key players such as Duncan and Trent turn out to be some appreciable competitors over the course of the show's run, but secondary characters such as Cody have also gone on to become significant fan favorites. One character who's not bound to be high on a list of favorites is Heather, the stuck-up popular girl who comes up with many devious schemes to get herself far in the competition. She's basically the major villain for Total Drama Island. In the middle of it all is our host,
Chris McLean.
As the overseer of the competition, he doesn't involve himself in the drama of the series, but rather makes light of the predicaments the contestants find themselves in, showing negligible care for their safety.
Hi, Chris here. Sometimes teams just don't get along. So the producers and I thought that the best way to work through the group friction would be to exploit it for laughs. This is gonna be awesome!
Introducing challenges for the characters, his only concern is for himself. He often makes his colleague, the burly and tough Chef Hatchet, do the tasks he wishes to avoid. Of course, as we learn more about these characters and they learn more about each other, we get to see some budding romance at work. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the romance because it's something you'd need to watch the show yourself to see how each connection comes together, but I will say that the ways in which each romantic relationship comes together is pretty unique for each respective couple. Of course, not all the relationships hold together perfectly, as certain things happen during the competition to shake things up. It's all in the name of adding drama to the series. Just as important as the drama to the series is the comedy. The comedy is what holds Total Drama as a series together and is one of the aspects of the show that I enjoy. The actions and dialogue from some of the characters can be laugh-out-loud hilarious at times.
I need you to do something. Can you keep a secret?
Oh my gosh, definitely! My sister got diarrhea once on a date, and I had to bring her toilet paper because the restaurant was all out and she was stuck in the bathroom, and I've never told a soul. Oops. Sorry, Paula.
With a show involving a lot of drama, a few chuckles here and there are necessary to alleviate some of the tension. However, sometimes the physical comedy can get a bit predictable and tedious. For example, there's the nutshot sequences. Within the first 4 episodes of the show, I think I counted about 5 different occasions in which this joke was used, and I know it appeared several more times throughout the show. I'm not denying that this sort of physical comedy can be funny, I'm just saying that the more you reuse the same joke, the more people will be able to see it coming and not laugh. Also, there's the gross out. Because Total Drama is lampooning Survivor, a show that involves such activities as ingesting bugs, there's quite a lot of gross stuff in this show as well. You'll probably notice a lot of upchucking in this show, like a lot of it. If you're not the sort of person who tolerates this kind of comedy, this show might not be very comforting for you to sit through. I'm not a fan of gross out myself, but since Total Drama is doing this as sort of a spoof satire, I can excuse it, for the most part. Plus, there's more to Total Drama's humor than that. Total Drama's humor has a bit of a mature edge to it, more so than most other children's cartoons. Much of it didn't gel very well with Cartoon Network standards when it was imported to the US, so the show was rated TV PG here. Many times the dialogue was edited to make it more appropriate to US audiences. That included taking out instances where characters say crap or this sucks or something like that. Sometimes lines would be completely altered for US airings, and the results could be, let's call them, ineffective.
You really are mean! And all that bad stuff people say about you is true! Like how you're a two-faced, backstabbing, lying little... Like how you're a two-faced, backstabbing, lying little... no-good, selfish, heartless, pushy, bossy, mean, bully of a girl!
All the same, Total Drama did manage to become a big hit in the US, and who's to know, it could have inspired Cartoon Network to pick up other shows with a more mature edge to their humor, such as Regular Show and Adventure Time. So, in a way, we Americans owe a lot to Total Drama. I probably shouldn't end my discussion of the show's comedy without talking about the character of Owen.
Hey everyone, check this out. I have something very important to say.
As one of the major sources of the show's laughs. Typically, the way he provides the chuckles is through his constant flatulence, which can get a little bit exasperating. Despite how often he's used to convey the same joke, I actually like Owen, though, because that's not the only thing he's given to do. Besides being a main source for the show's comedy, Owen is given a bit of depth and personality. We see him get into a relationship with Izzy, the crazy girl on the show, and we see that he's willing to look out for the other characters and not just for himself. So, ahead of being a running joke, Owen, as with Gwen and many of the other characters on the show, develops his own personality over the course of the show. The challenges of this show provide some of its most action-packed moments. Plenty of physical comedy can be seen at work here, as well as intense slow-motion camera work. Sometimes, Chris interrupts what's happening on screen to point out something in humorous detail. That kinda reminds me of Kuzco from The Emperor's New Groove. I wouldn't be surprised if that movie had a little bit of an influence. Clearly, taking influence from movies and some pop culture, the challenges and setups are what give Total Drama an interesting style. After the challenges, at the end of most episodes, a campfire ceremony will be held and Chris announces the contestants who are safe from elimination. What determines a contestant's safeness is a marshmallow. Based on votes from their fellow competitors, one team member does not receive a marshmallow and is therefore excised from play, leaving the competition. The gameplay runs episode by episode until the final two are pitted against each other in the last episode of the season. The identity of the overall winner can change depending on the location of the viewer, meaning that the winner of the season is not the winner worldwide. So in the first season, for example, the first place winner could be either Gwen or Owen depending on the country in which you're viewing the series. Great lengths were taken to ensure the confidentiality of the winner. All the production staff and voice actors were put under a signed agreement not to reveal the victor to anyone before the airing of the season's last episode. So, as you can see, a lot of care went into the making of the show, and it really paid off, as the show became one of the best-loved cartoons on Cartoon Network and Teletoon, the original Canadian home channel for this show. With such great success coming about from the first season, there obviously was good reason for a second to be made. But for an animated show such as Total Drama, what would it do for such a renewal? A live-action reality show would keep more or less the same setup, but have a totally different cast. For an animated show like Total Drama, that approach would be impractical, as it wouldn't be very cost-effective or creative to just have a whole bunch of new characters show up and compete in more or less the same challenges as their first season predecessors had done, and then never be seen again after that one season. What Total Drama does instead is keep the characters the same, but completely revamp the setting. Now, instead of Total Drama Island, the second season became Total Drama Action. After a 45-minute special, which pitted all the former contestants against one another for a case containing $1 million, the characters closest to winning it went on to compete in the second season. This season pitted the competitors in an abandoned movie lot as opposed to the disused campground of the first season. The challenges were now centered around varying movie genres instead of camp-like activities, and it featured a less significant number of characters than the first season, 15 as opposed to the 22 that were in the first season. Some fans felt this season was not as good as the first, but personally I think Total Drama Action is an improvement over Total Drama Island in some ways. Fewer characters meant a greater chance to develop some of the people that we hadn't learned about as much in the first season. As you can probably tell, with a large cast like this, it would be impossible to give every single character the same amount of focus and development in just one 26-episode season. So, a smaller cast affords more time for us to learn a little more about the personalities of each character. In addition to significant players like Duncan and DJ, we get to see the personalities of less significant characters like Justin and Beth develop as well. The challenges are a lot more fun and interesting too. They don't involve as much gross out as the first season, and basing them around varying movie genres makes things more creative and interesting to watch. It's fun seeing the characters do things like assemble a robot cadaver or solve a phony murder mystery. I like to see what each of the competitors is like, with Chris taking a backseat role to them and not being audible for much of the episode. Cunning alliances take place, such as the secretive one between Chef and DJ for an offer of the split in the $1 million. There are still relationship dramas and conflicts similar to those seen in the first season, but there are a lot of new things to like as well. One weird thing about the season is that there seems to be no consistent antagonist. Having been in that role in the first season, Heather is sidelined a bit in her role here, so she's not the primary source of contention in this season. Even so, nobody dares to trust her here. At first, you'd think Justin, the pretty boy who was eliminated early last season, was going to be taking that role, but later on, when Courtney makes her debut midway through the season, he gets pushed to the background a bit himself. So Courtney seems to take up the lion's share of the animosity in the second half of the season. She's not the most formidable baddie, but at least she makes a better use of the role than Justin does. With a shortened cast, not every episode could feature an elimination like the first season. So after the third episode of the season, only every other episode features an awards ceremony. Yes, they're called award ceremonies in the second season because, as opposed to marshmallows, the characters now receive a Golden Chris Award to signify their safeness. The character without one is eliminated. This time, instead of being sent to a resort like in last season, the eliminated contestants get the opportunity to appear on another segment. This segment is called the Total Drama Aftermath Show. Occurring every 6 episodes, this show, hosted by Bridget and Jeff, the first contestants eliminated from this season, acts as sort of a talk show where we learn a little more about the thoughts and feelings of those eliminated, and the characters who aren't competing are acting as a peanut gallery of sorts. Unseen footage from the competition can be found here, interspersed with segments such as That's Gonna Leave a Mark, which features footage of characters getting comedically bludgeoned for the viewer's enjoyment. Obviously, physical pain is a main source of joy for those involved with this show, as there's also a segment wherein the eliminated contestants need to tell the truth or else be hit by a hammer, an anvil, or even shocked in an electric chair. Though there is a lot to learn from the Aftermath show, it's largely inessential to the competition and is mainly there to pad out the 26-episode length of the season. Once the gameplay is finished and the winners are voted upon by the losers, Total Drama action ends. Now another special is made. This one takes place a year after the end of TDA and shows what each respective contestant is now doing. Some are famous and some are desperate to stay that way. However, they wind up back together after learning of Chris's intention to replace them with a new reality show of his, called Total Drama Dirtbags. This all turns out to be a ruse when Chris rescues some of the contestants and tells them that they are all going to be starring in the 3rd season of Total Drama for another $1 million, along with a couple of new players, who I will discuss in a bit. This season is known as Total Drama World Tour. Originally to be called Total Drama the Musical, this season shows the contestants traveling all around the world and breaking into a song at a certain point in each episode. Their travels in the Total Drama Jumbo Jet take them to places like Greece, Newfoundland, and Jamaica. Because of the musical format of the show, I was expecting this season to be sort of a mixed bag. I mean, it's no easy task to come up with short songs for all 26 episodes of a season, and I don't know much about the Total Drama production team's musical acumen. However, watching the whole season, I didn't find that many songs to be truly second-rate. Most of them are catchy and put together well enough to be enjoyable little ditties on their own. Plus, averaging around a minute or so, none of them really overstay their welcome. All the characters can sing decently enough, and helping things out is the fact that Courtney's voice actress, Emily Claire Barlow, is an accomplished jazz vocalist, which adds a little to Courtney's character as well. In addition to the songs, it's fascinating to see the locations to which the group travels in the Total Drama Jumbo Jet. Challenges include assembling famous sculptures and assembling a makeshift boat out of reeds to row across the Nile River. Clearly, the producers did their homework on each location, as each one has the right atmosphere and setup. Whatever little flaws there were regarding the geography were pointed out by one of the contestants, and Chris always had a ready excuse regarding budget or something.
But the Thinker isn't located in the Louvre, and the statue of David isn't even in France.
Well, we're not using the actual statues. Those are priceless. Chef made some fake ones, right?
This season took quite a bit more influence from The Amazing Race than Survivor this time around. It's neat seeing the showrunners expanding their tastes and giving the show a bit of variety. With the characters involved, the locations visited, and some of the choreographed music and the challenges, this season is arguably the best season of Total Drama. Speaking of variety, in addition to the familiar faces from the first 2 seasons, the contestants this time around are joined by a couple of new faces. First is Alejandro, a Spanish-Canadian ladies' man with secretly diabolical intentions as the villain. He's an impressive character and a good antagonist. With his flexibility and charm, you can't help but be impressed by him. Heather certainly seems to be, even though she won't admit it.
I want the tape. Give me the tape. How do you open this thing?
Second, on the creepier side of things, is Sierra, a Total Drama fan turned contestant thanks to her part in the Celebrity Manhunt special. She hones her talents as a stalker by possessing intimate knowledge of each competitor and harboring a deep infatuation with Cody. These 2 characters, despite not being the most likable people in the world, add a bit of new material to the show and bring out depth in the characters of Heather and Cody. Getting Sierra and Alejandro far in the competition are their obsessive fan craze and their cunning manipulation, respectively. With these 2 relationships taking root, another is finding itself in trouble. Gwen's breakup with Trent in Season 2 spelled the end of that relationship, and ever since then, another suspected hookup was revealed between her and Duncan. However, Courtney considers Duncan to still be her main squeeze in spite of their on-again, off-again relationship. This creates something of a love triangle between Courtney, Gwen, and Duncan. Things come to a head when Duncan and Gwen are caught kissing in the confessional stall on the Total Drama Jumbo Jet. Yeah, if you thought there wasn't enough relationship drama in the first 2 seasons, wait till you see this. This is arguably among the more controversial aspects of the season, as it hurts Gwen's likability a bit. Gwen seems to care a little more about her relationship with Duncan than she does about Courtney's feelings. In the end, I say Gwen getting eliminated from competition was what she had coming. Crueler than the Gwen and Duncan relationship behind Courtney's back is what happens at the end of the season. No, I'm not talking about the 2 finalists, even though they're both villains. I'm talking about what happens to the character Ezekiel. Thanks to his time hiding out in the plane with little nourishment, Ezekiel has now become a golem-like creature. He's been hiding out in hopes of getting his hands on the prize money. Having followed the finalists all the way to Hawaii, he grabs hold of the money meant for the winner and falls into a volcano with it. That's a bit of a cruel fate to bestow upon a character. Regardless of my opinion on Ezekiel, even in cartoons, lava is always what characters know will kill them if they fall into it, which is why it's always avoided. Even though Ezekiel was eventually launched out of the volcano, I can't help but feel that his fate was more than a bit sadistic. But that's the only thing that mars an otherwise great season. With that out of the way, we come to the end of Total Drama World Tour. With the most enjoyable season yet now completed, you have to wonder how the producers would top themselves in the 4th season. Well...
with his fool's gold stacked up all around him, from a killing in the market on the war, children looking Midas there as they found him in his counting house where nothing counts but more, and he thought he heard the